What did we gain from the war? 2 million Igbo people killed for nothing. Is that an achievement? You can't be a hero if you lower people to death. I'm saying it. I have the courage to say it. If you lower people to death, 2 million of us were massacred with no compensation. You are not a hero. No palace, repeat, no palace in Igbo land have the history of this Obi Palace. You tell me how many heads of state that visited any other palace. The only person that never came here was Obasanjo. Gowon came here. What's his name? Azikiwe comes here. Tafawa Balewa comes here. Awolowo comes here. Gowon came here after the war. When he came to Oka, he visited those Tagura in this palace. I show you a video of Tinubu here. Tinubu was give me my phone. If any palace can tell me that 22 governors have visited at one point, let me show me the video. I have the video to show you. Led by Atiku and Ojikano. 22 governors came here at once. I have the video to show you. It was those Tagura that started what you call Ozompu in Enugu. There was nothing like Ozompu. Ozompu, that is Ozo. Yeah, the upper class of the Ozo title. Tagura is the one that started Ozompu in Enugu in 1960. Serious? There was nothing like Ozompu in Enugu. In fact, there is no other place in Igbo land where you have what you call Ozompu. If you're Ozompu and showing off with your Mpalo or your Ngwagriga, remember that it was Tagura that created Ozompu. It was not in this town before. That is the truth. If anybody wants to challenge it, debunk it, tell me who did before him. If you go to Enugu Jara's hospital, the Enugu Jara hospital in this town was brought about, Igbo Tagura brought about it. Tagura was chairman in Jikoka local government. The word Igwe was Tagura brought in Igbo land. Take it or leave it. It's the truth. The Igwe. There was no Igwe in Igbo land before 1960. What we have is Eze, Obi, other titles. The word Igwe never existed. Lazarus Tagura, my grandfather, brought civilization to Enugu. The peg of this Enugu Onitsha road that passed through here was Lazarus Tagura, nobody else. My grandfather Lazarus Tagura built the first upstairs in Enugu, Odedibo house. I showed you. Yes, very Lazarus Tagura built the first water reservoir in Enugu. He was the first person to be baptized at Emmanuel Church. He was the first person to have white wedding, Christian wedding at Emmanuel Church, 1917. He was the only person in Enugu to have a car.
This question goes this way. What did your father did to Enugu? What his achievement that you can be proud of?
Okay.
This is it's not personal, yes, but I want you to address this.
Thank you for the question. I'll go back a bit in history.
Okay.
About the Agoda dynasty. The British came to Enugu in 1906. And at that time, my grandfather, Lazarus Tagura, was the only person in Enugu that could read and write at that time. And warrant chief were appointed, to which he was one of them. Because of his influence and education, the British made him the paramount ruler of this community. He was the only person that owned a diary in Enugu as far back as 1907, 1906. So everything that happened in this community was written down in his diary, which I still have my position. I can show you.
The diary is still?
Yeah, the diary is still with me. It's not in the original paper anymore because the paper is old.
Okay.
But it's been reprinted and you could read everything there. All the people that were killed when the British came at Ire village, Enuagu village, all the houses that were burned, he wrote them in his diary. The British people that came here, the one that led the attack on Enugu, Major Morehouse and Captain Boyle, which I have their statue there. My grandfather, the British taught him how to take pictures. He was a photographer as well. So he took pictures of all these people, which is in the archives here. That's where I got the picture of all the arts you see over there. So no other family in this town can say what I'm saying. Fact. Lazarus Tagura, my grandfather, brought civilization to Enugu. This main road here, when the British first came, in 1910, that when the road was approved, and there was peg. What you call peg is when they start putting pegs to say this road has been approved. Okay. Some people, let me say this fact correct. Some people in Enugu still tell you that it was Ibik Pajie that brought about the road. Ibik was born 1902. Lazarus Tagura was born 1884. It is 18 years different. Lazarus Tagura became a paramount ruler, a warrant chief. At the time British was here, it was his influence that brought this road. The peg was done 1910. Ibik was only 8 years old. How can a boy of 8 years old who is walking around naked bring about road in the community? People should ask themselves the question.
It's not possible.
Let me repeat what I said. The peg of this Enugu Onitsha road that passed through here was Lazarus Tagura, nobody else. The peg was done 1910. Ibik was only 8 years old. So people should stop distorting history and facts just because of their envy and jealousy of accomplishments of some people. My grandfather Lazarus Tagura built the first upstairs in Enugu, Odedibo house. I showed you.
Yes,
Lazarus Tagura built the first water reservoir in Enugu. He was the first person to be baptized at Emmanuel Church. He was the first person to have white wedding, Christian wedding at Emmanuel Church, 1917. He was the only person in Enugu to have a car in those days. So what can you tell me? Now, that's Lazarus for you. I come down to Ostaguna, who was my father. Ostaguna ascended the throne in 1958. Because when my grandfather passed away, it took 19 years. He was a Ndozo that was, taking care of traditional affairs in this community. In 1958, Ostaguna was crowned as Enugu. Now, from that time, being a man who was educated, he was ahead of his time. It was Ostaguna that started what you call Ozompu in Enugu. There was nothing like Ozompu.
Ozompu,
the upper class of the Ozo title. Ostaguna is the one that started Ozompu in Enugu in 1960. Serious. There was nothing like Ozompu in Enugu. In fact, there's no other place in Igbo land where you have what you call Ozompu. Anybody doing it now, like I have from Amobe, they are copying what Enugu is doing. That's no problem. But Tagura is one that created Ozompu in Enugu and Ogwozo. Ogwozo is the junior one. Okay. Ozompu is the senior one. And what is Ozompu? It is when you wear that anklet in your ankle, there's a copper. There's something made out of copper or bronze that are attached to that wool. That is the po. Okay. That is what separates you from the Ogwozo. And that's what it is. So Ozompu was started by Ostaguna in 1960. And the first person initiated into Ozompu was D.A. Wando, Oba, Senior Oba. After that, it was Denis Onwawolo, home the fourth of Enugu. And after that, it was Aaron Kwacha. And the rest of them, the lineage goes on and on. But before that, there was other people in Enugu, like Workaholic, Ozomwelibe. But they were not Ozompu. It was Aguna that started Ozompu. And then those people did some rituals and their position were elevated to Ozompu. So the creation of Ozompu was Ostaguna in 1960. It was not in this town before then.
So anybody like his Ozompu
now have to know that the history came from Aguna. They must show that respect. If you Ozompu and showing off with your Mpalo or your Ngwadriga, remember that it was Aguna that created Ozompu. It was not in this town before. That is the truth. If anybody wants to challenge it to debunk it, tell me who did before him. That's number one. This town, if you look at this if you look at the town hall, Enugu have a town hall called Enugu Community Town Hall. Okay. This town hall, if they spend 1 million naira to build it, Chief R. Onkwacha Idon for Enugu late put 900,000. But that hall, there was a problem because Enugu community bought a land from a gentleman from Umobu village, another man from Umobu village, Urunebo village, Umobu village in Enugu. And that man, after a while, for some reason, said Enugu community did not pay him. He wanted his land back. So this thing went on back and forth, and eventually the man took a legal action. His own lawyer was barrister. Barrister Cyprian Anna, C.Y. Anna, a younger brother to Senator N.N. Anna from Adazi. And the lawyer for Enugu was Barrister Ikem from Aki village in Enugu. So this man that sued Enugu over this town hall was hoping that he will win. He came here and subpoenaed Aguna. That's one thing about special about those Aguna. He gives evidence for prosecution and defense. So Enugu subpoenaed Aguna for that matter, and the Uru neighborman subpoenaed Aguna. But he was coming here thinking that he was bringing Aguna big tubers of yam, because I was around that time. This was in the 80s. That eventually Aguna is going to Melo and then go there and say he owns the land. No, on the day, before the day of that court, I was here. His lawyer, Cyprian Anna, came here on a Sunday and was saying to Igwe Aguna, I want to ask you some questions so you and I can rehearse what I'm going to ask you in the court the next day. The judge that tried that case was Justice Uyanna from Nimo. I'm calling names. This is that I'm not telling you something I'm telling you because I was there. Cyprian Nana came here on a Sunday, spoke to Tagura and said, look, let me rehearse some questions with you. Tagura, being a smart man, said to Cyprian Nana, can you write it in your writing, those questions you are going to ask me? And Nana, for some reason, agreed and wrote down the questions. Tagura took that paper. The next day, I drove him to court in Oka. Justice Uyanna from Nimo. And when the case was called up, Enugu has subpoenaed Tagura. Yurun Neboma has subpoenaed Tagura. So it was him now that will testify for both parties. So they asked Tagura, how did the land come? How did Enugu acquire the land? Tagura told them how Enugu bought the land from the man. And eventually Cyprian Nana, who was a lawyer for the man, stood up in court and said, oh, Tagura is a hostile witness. We brought him here to say the truth. Now he's lying. He's siding with Enugu. Then Tagura said to the judge, my honor, I have something to say. And the judge said, what is it? Tagura produced the note. The question Siwana wrote with his handwriting that you were going to ask him. And the judge was so mad at him and said, how can you go to a client, somebody who's coming to give evidence, the day before the court, to go and persuade him to lie on your behalf? It was a big thing. He said, I will put you in a custodial sentence. Other lawyers in that court were pleading on his behalf. That's how Anna got up. And eventually that judgment was given. Enugu won that case. That case went up to appeal court because in appeal court, parties don't go. It's the judges who look at the judgment. If it's right, and that's it. And that's how I went to Supreme Court. Without us, Tagura, Enugu Town Hall would not be there today. It would have been owned by somebody else. It was Tagura that did it.
Wow.
If you go to Enugu Jara's hospital, the Enugu Jara hospital in this town was brought about, Igbo Tagura brought about it. Tagura was chairman in Njikoka local government. In those days, it was called Njikoka County Council. Tagura was chairman from 1960 to 1964. In those days, traditional ruler can still play politics. Okay. Tagura was chairman in Njikoka local government, Njikoka County Council, 1960 to 1964. 2 consecutive times. In those days, it was 2 years. In 1963, this thing came up about this Jara hospital. Most towns wanted it. Nimo had the Onyuke family, Onyuke family. They were rich, prominent people in this area. Then Enugu wanted it. But eventually, they were buying people. They were councillors. This thing about Nigeria corruption is not something that started today. In those days, people were persuaded, go for us, we give you a piece of land, this and that. Even after Eze, this Prince after Eze, his father Michael Eze was part of the people that voted because he was a councillor of Ubo for them. I'm telling you facts. So now on that day, when the vote was being done, eventually Enugu had 8 votes. And then Nimo had 8 votes. Tagura, who was the chairman, had 1 vote. If Tagura has agreed with Nimo, people who tried to bribe him, they wanted to give Tagura a car, give him how many acres of land than Nimo. He refused. If he were one of these people that we have today, he would have taken that money, taken the car, and voted for Nimo. But you know what? He rejected all those offers and said, I'm going to vote. And he voted for Enugu. Enugu now have 9 votes. That's how this Jara hospital came to be here. It was those Tagura's influence that brought the Jara hospital in Enugu today. Now, during the Biafran War, this Jara hospital was destroyed by bomb. This hospital was moved to Ekulobia. Some people that old enough to know the history know what I'm talking about. Enugu Jara hospital moved to Ekulobia. Tagura came out again. In those days, the person who was in charge of health was Mrs. Flora Makuche. Flora Makuche was in charge of health in those days. So they say Enugu have no structure. Tagura spoke to some of his friends like Nnamdi Azikiwe. And eventually the idea came out, you know what? They should use palm trees to set up place in that place. Because of that influence and contact Tagura had with Zik and Okpara and some of them, Makuche was ordered to go and take it back from Ekwuobi and bring it back here. He came there, Enugu had no structure. It was only made with igu, palm leaves. That's what they used to make the structure. That's how that Jara was brought back by Tagura again to this town. That was what happened. If you go to our village, we have a reservoir. That reservoir was built by Israelis. It was Israel that built that reservoir in the 60s. When that thing was being allocated to towns, it was Okpara. Okpara was the premier then. And the Okpara wanted Aguna to go with the delegation to go and negotiate in Israel, because Aguna knew about irrigation and he works in the water plant in those days. And Aguna looked at the list of towns where this reservoir be. Enugu was not. Aguna refused to go. Emma Okpara have to come here in this palace to meet us to Aguna and say, Igwe, I wanted you to go with it. Why? Igwe Aguna said, no. You feel all this town, Enugu is not there, I'm not going. Okpara right here, remove the name of a town and put Enugu. Aguna joined that. That's how that water kept, even though it was not maintained up till now. In the 80s, when nobody was governor, that water was running this, everybody had water. It was those Tagura that brought about it.
Wow.
Do you understand what I'm saying? To mention but a few.
Yes.
I can keep telling you. You know what I'm saying?
So this is
the word Igwe was those Tagura that brought in Igbo land. Take it or leave it. It's the truth.
The Igwe.
There was no Igwe in Igbo land before 1960. What we have is Eze, Obi, other titles. The word Igwe never existed. I repeat it again. My grandfather Lazarus Tagura was Eze Lazarus Tagura. Tabansudo was Eze Tabansudo. Other kings was Eze, Obi, whatever the town have chosen. But the word Igwe never existed. It was Aguna after he was crowned the Igbo, giving the Ofondre when he won the clan head. That came out here and said, I looked at the sky. How far can you go? What do you call it? They said Igwe. He said, I can't get bigger than this. That's how the name Igwe started in Igbo land. Take it or leave it.
So any Igwe in Igbo have to pay homage.
Yes, he created the name Igwe in Igbo land. Most communities in Igbo state is Eze.
Yes, yeah.
You don't understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Normally use
Anybody not tell you Igwe or he's Igwe this, he started from Ostaguna. That is the truth.
Wow.
So, to mention but a few, I can keep telling you.
So let's stop here today. Then, anytime you see us here, we continue.
Yeah.
This is the home of history.
Yeah.
And with evidence.
No palace, repeat, no palace in Igbo land have the history of this Obi Palace. You tell me how many heads of state that visited any other palace. The only person that never came here was Obasanjo. Gowon came here. What's his name? Azikiwe comes here. Tagura comes here. Awolowo comes here. Gowon came here after the war. When he came to Oka, he visited those Tagura in this palace. You understand?
But our people hate Gowon.
Yeah, you can hate him, but at the point the war has ended. You know, and those people like us Tagura will not have supported the war because they fought for Nigerian independence. Oguna would not have supported the war. What did we gain from the war? 2 million Igbo people killed for nothing. Is that an achievement? You can't be a hero if you lure people to death. I'm saying it. I have the courage to say it. If you lure people to death, 2 million of us were massacred with no compensation. You are not a hero. Take it from me. Nobody can say what I'm saying. But
your father, which side was he?
In what?
Like when they were
during the war, everybody have to run. People have to live there. Aguna left here because the mortar and the bomb was. They don't know. You don't know whose the mortar is going to fall on. We were living at Okija. That's where we stayed during the war. You know. And I remember one time my uncle was arrested with my father, and both of them were nailed down. And they are saying that the lot of ammunition came in, and my uncle was the one that was handed over. The man pulled out, our commander pulled out his revolver to shoot my uncle. The thing didn't fire. Eventually, he stood and he said, what's your name? And my God said, he said to us, my dad, they were both on their knees. And my dad said, the man stood like he said, which is Tagura? He said, are you the host Tagura of NCNC? My father said, yes. He just saluted him like this. He said, you're one of the freedom fighters of Nigeria. Get up. I didn't know it was you. This is what that name have projected. Aguna, the name Aguna. If you go to any Commonwealth country, if you read the history, law of evidence, the name of Aguna is still read in any school, universities in Nigeria. Because Aguna was tried for sedition by the British government. Rex versus Aguna. Any law in Nigeria will know what I'm talking about. So it's not a Ejiro name, Toko. So Abro name. I'm saying it.
Some people say you are full of yourself.
Yeah, why shouldn't I be full of myself? What have your own father accomplished? Tell me. Did your father go to prison for Nigerian independence? Was your father a traditional ruler for 50 years? Did your father influence anything? Tell me what your father did and I'll tell you about my father.
So you are proud.
I am proud to be son of Igbo Taguna. And I'll be proud till I die. Because no palace in Igbo land have the history of what happened here? Nobody. I show you a video of Tinubu here. Tinubu was give me my phone.
Huh?
People can publish that. Yes, give me my phone.
Tinubu.
Let me show you. Tinubu. Bola Tinubu was. I show you.
Tinubu
Tinubu. I show you the video. It's not a question of did they happen. I show you. So if you run off your mouth, have your facts to back it up. Then I'll respect you. If you don't, then you know what? Shut the fuck up.
Serious?
Yep. Show you. This is Bola made Tinubu in Obi Palace. Yeah, being interviewed by my cousin, Onyemoechi. Onyemoechi is the guy from Gogo Africa. Yeah, you people must know Gogo Africa. Yeah? Watch. You can later you can take this. This is Tinubu entering the palace. Yeah, that's him. That's Bola made Tinubu. That's Tinubu here. Yeah, in this Obi Palace. You can take it when you know. Yeah. Watch his interview. Is here. Tinubu is being interviewed by my cousin Onyemoechi of Gogo Africa. That's here in this palace.
So it's like if you want to become somebody in Nigeria,
you must come here. I play a video. Atiku came here. Atiku came here with 22 governors. 22 governors in this palace. If any palace can tell me that 22 governors have visited at one point, let me show me the video. I have the video to show you. Led by Atiku and Ojikano. 22 governors came here at once. I have the video to show you. Yeah. So it's not about boasting. It's the truth. You know, we have to give honor to who honor is due. That's what I'm saying.
We are going to play this video for you so that you will see. This is not only
here.
We are going to play this video.
Yeah, it's here. It's not. I'm not lying to you. Let me educate people on some history. This Ohaneze Igbo today, that we supposedly to speak on behalf of Igbos, who formed it? It was those Tagura and Ezonu of Itohurata and some other guys from Imo State. That's how Ohaneze came to be. But today, a lot of people are being honored in Ohaneze Igbo. This is the problem with Nigeria. They forgot who started. They forget where he started.
Okay.
You know, today you have there was a professor that just died who was a leader. Iwanyan was the leader. Yes. He died. I don't know who they made it this time. But all these people, they're not making reference to where the whole thing started. There was religious oration at Owerri Stadium in 1987. It was Tagura that pronounced it that Igbos will have a day when the whole Igbo community will have New Year festival.
Yes.
Every community will have their own day, but there will be a day the whole Igbo land will celebrate. It was those Tagura that made that proclamation at Owerri Stadium and invited MK Abiola, who was sitting next to him. That is the truth. So Odogwa will guide them.
So the Ohaneze Igbo we have today was formed by your father
and the Ezonu of Itohurata.
So when you see him talking my father, yes, he has a reason. So we are not Ohaneze Igbo. Although let me not say Ohaneze Igbo is formed by your father. So that meant to represent us.
Yes.
Are they representing us?
Ohaneze today, they haven't got enough courageous men. This is why leadership is not for everybody. In Igbo land, everybody wants to be a leader. Everybody wants to be a king. It's not meant for everybody. You need to have the antecedents. You need to have the antecedent to be a leader. You need to have the courage.
Yes.
It has to be in your blood. That's what it's all about. The Ohaneze we have today are just people that are there for showing up. They want to be on television.
Is this ceremonial?
Yes, the ceremonial Ohaneze. We are Ohaneze Igbo. Tell me one thing one change they have brought in Igbo land since these current people have started. It's all about showing off and going places to talk. What have they accomplished, really? That is the question.
This is a good question.
Before we put leadership in things like Ohaneze, we must pick the right people who are there to represent the Igbo interest, who have the courage to speak for Igbo people, who are not people that can be bought over by any government. We have to have people that have that love for Igbo land. That's what they should represent.
Wow.
That's my take.
That's massive, man. That's massive, man.